Welcome to Black Sheep, where I take a look at entries in video game franchises that were poorly received or controversial among the fans. Now, I won't be dwelling on the negative aspects of these games. Instead, I'll be looking in detail at things I like about the games, whether it was the story, gameplay, music, or anything else it contained, and see if they're really deserving of the infamy that they have. For this episode, we'll be looking at a title that is often considered a black sheep of the Call of Duty series, Call of Duty Ghosts. The first-person shooter is easily one of the most popular genres in gaming, and a great many of them have historical settings, particularly the massive conflict of World War II. Games like Medal of Honor were met with great success, and in 2003, publisher Activision and developer Infinity Ward released their own game about the Great War with Call of Duty. Call of Duty was an incredible accomplishment, with multiple Game of the Year awards and excellent reactions from the gaming community. Infinity Ward immediately began work on the next game, and in 2005, Call of Duty 2 was released. The game was praised for its presentation, combat, and the newly implemented regenerating health system. After the release of Call of Duty 2, the series turned into an annual franchise, with Infinity Ward and Treyarch releasing a new chapter each year. While Treyarch continued the World War II saga with Call of Duty 3, Infinity Ward was hard at work on a title that would make the popularity of the franchise explode, and that title was Call of Duty 4: Modern Warfare. Released in 2007, Modern Warfare sold millions of copies and was highly acclaimed. The intense single-player campaign and the engaging multiplayer, along with the current, modern setting, made Call of Duty 4 a huge crowd-pleaser, and the success of this game paved the way for the franchise's future. In the years that followed, Modern Warfare received 2 direct sequels with the help of a new studio, Sledgehammer Games, while Treyarch developed their own sub-series with Call of Duty Black Ops and Call of Duty Black Ops 2. The latter of which moved beyond modern settings and into a more futuristic environment. Throughout the release of all these games, Call of Duty continued to be a massive hit, and Activision hoped to continue this trend, and with the Xbox One and PS4 set to be released in the fall of 2013, Call of Duty would make the jump to the next generation of consoles with Call of Duty Ghosts. Call of Duty Ghosts released across multiple platforms in November of 2013, but the definitive versions of the game were on the PC, Xbox One, and the PS4, which is the platform I used for this video. Now, I think it's safe to say that there are some people who only play the Call of Duty games solely for its multiplayer, but the single-player campaigns are also a big draw, so that's what we'll look at first. The story of Call of Duty Ghosts is different from most titles in the series, as it features a weakened United States fighting back against a more powerful force. So if nothing else, this makes for a unique premise. The tale begins sometime in the not-too-distant future, where most of the fuel reserves of the Middle East and other profitable countries have been destroyed. This allows for the countries of South America to rise as a world power, and the whole continent unites under the flag of the Federation. The Federation then begins a conquest to the north, with the United States in their sights. In an effort to cripple the USA, the Federation hijacks their military's orbital weapons system, Odin, and uses it on the southern US to devastating effect. The story then jumps 10 years ahead, and we take the role of Logan Walker, a man who has joined the military to help repel the Federation invaders. You are joined in this fight by Hesh, Logan's brother, and Riley, their canine companion. After defending against the latest Federation attack, Logan and Hesh reunite with their father, Elias, who is the commander of their unit. Elias orders the brothers to go to No Man's Land, the Odin impact site from years earlier, and perform a recon mission as well as rendezvous with a unit stationed there. During the course of this mission, Logan, Hesh, and Riley get ambushed by a large pack of wolves, and are rescued by the Ghosts, an elite special ops unit that was so feared by their enemies, people believed them to be supernatural. 2 of these Ghosts, Merrick and Keegan, take Logan on another mission to save a fellow Ghost who is being held hostage by the Federation. However, they are too late, and they discover that all the Ghosts are on a kill list, a list developed by a man named Rourke. When Logan returns to base, he finds it under attack by Federation forces, and makes his way through the firefights to find his father, Elias. Unfortunately, Logan gets wounded and is trapped in a burning building with Hesh and Riley. They are rescued once again by the ghosts, and here we discover that Elias is actually a ghost himself, and is the leader of the unit. Elias then tells his son about Rourke, a man who was the previous leader of the ghosts. During a mission in South America many years ago, Rourke seemingly fell to his death when Elias let go of him to save the rest of his squad. Rourke did not die, but was actually captured by the Federation, who tortured him for months and are now using him as their ghost killer. The next couple of missions revolve around the capture of Rourke, and eventually the US military and the Ghost track him down to an industrial complex and proceed to take him back to their headquarters. Much to the Ghost's surprise, Rourke actually wanted to be captured, so he could lure the Ghosts into a trap set by the Federation.
You haven't beaten me, Elias. You just made my job a hell of a lot easier. If you make it out of this, kid, come find me. There's always room for one more.
The Ghost's plane crashes into a dense jungle, but miraculously the entire team survive the crash, and after avoiding some more Federation forces, are extracted via boat. The team is then given a new objective to infiltrate a Federation complex in the Andes, and discover any information on a new missile weapon system. After a narrow escape, Logan and the rest of the Ghosts succeed in their next few missions, which involve destroying a fuel platform, a Federation destroyer ship, as well as learning the Federation's ultimate plan, launching a new Odin's weapon satellite, as the original fell into the Earth's atmosphere almost a decade ago. With the Federation's plan discovered, the Ghosts journey back to the ruins of Las Vegas for a brief respite. This rest is very short-lived, as Rourke seizes his chance to cripple the Ghosts and ends up killing Elias. It would appear all is lost, but Keegan, the team's sniper, returns from an away mission and helps rescue Merrick, Hesh, Logan, and Riley, who was wounded during the escape. Once the Ghosts rendezvous with the rest of the military, they initiate one last desperate offensive, attacking one of the Federation's key bases, while simultaneously sending a team into outer space to take back the Odin. During the course of this assault, Hesh and Logan discover that Rourke is on a high-speed train in the area, and so the two brothers chase after him. Meanwhile, the operation in outer space is a success, and the American forces proceed to obliterate the Federation with the devastating power of the Odin satellite, quite literally wiping entire platoons of soldiers off the map. With Odin back online and in the hands of the American forces, Hesh sends a request to command to fire on Rourke's train, even if it means Logan and Hesh go down with him. In the final confrontation, Rourke has the brothers cornered, but the train is then blasted apart by Odin, and Logan manages to shoot Rourke as their train car dislodges and the three men plummet into the watery depths below. Using every ounce of strength he has, Logan is able to pull Hesh back to the shore, and they collect themselves as they look out upon the water. Except, surprise, Rourke isn't dead, and he drags Logan away while talking about all the big plans he has for him.
You'd have been a hell of a ghost. But that's not gonna happen. There ain't gonna be any ghosts. We're gonna destroy him together. Logan! Logan! Logan!
After the credits roll, we see one final scene where Logan is trapped in a pit somewhere in the jungle, and is apparently receiving the same torture and reconditioning treatment that was used on Rourke. From what I understand, the story of Call of Duty Ghosts is similar to other more recent titles in the series, in that the driving force behind it is spectacle. And while there are plenty of wow moments in this game, I can't help but feel that the potential of the story was sacrificed in the process. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I hated the campaign of this game, but the characters and the overall story left me somewhat indifferent. As far as I could tell, we never learned why the Federation attacked the US in the first place, why the Americans thought a weapon like Odin was a good idea, or who the true leader of the Federation was, because it certainly wasn't Rourke. It's very possible some of this backstory is explained in the Rourke file collectibles, most of which I missed, but I guess what I'm saying is that I felt the story lacked heart and memorable characters, as the set pieces seemed to be the biggest focal point. It might seem silly, but my favorite character in this game was actually Riley, but he sadly gets sidelined after the first 2 or 3 missions, and we hardly see him for the rest of the game. Actually, the moment that impacted me the most in this game might have been unintentional. In the mission Clockwork, there's a scene where you exit the base you just infiltrated while dressed as Federation soldiers, and I felt feelings of guilt as I passed through all the carnage I had just caused. The Federation are portrayed as pretty much faceless villains throughout the campaign, but I actually felt sorry for them in this scene, and I wish the game had more moments like this one. Anyways, while I might have found the story of Ghosts a bit lacking, I would be lying if I said the gameplay wasn't incredibly polished and refined. Every single firearm in this game has a distinct feel, and it wasn't long before I found my personal favorite weapons among the game's many, many guns. The campaign takes about 4 to 6 hours to complete, and you'll be thrust into a variety of scenarios to experience. Sniping missions, jeep chases, spacewalks, and many more. For myself, I found the missions that embrace the stealthy aspects of the titular ghosts to be the most enjoyable. One of my favorite missions in the game, Into the Deep, has you scuba diving to take down a Federation dreadnought from below. It was a very cool, well-paced mission that had great stealthy moments, with a bit of fun underwater shooting towards the end. Another one of my favorites was Federation Day, where the team rappels down a skyscraper while silently eliminating enemy soldiers. The crazy shootouts and explosion-filled action scenes are still very enjoyable, but the game truly came alive for me in the missions where you felt like a ghost on the battlefield. It is also worth mentioning that you'll have fun diversions and gameplay gimmicks from time to time. I just wish most of them lasted longer, because some, like the night vision sequence, are extremely short-lived. My personal favorite of these is when you get to play as Riley towards the first half of the game. Stealth gameplay is in full swing here, and sneaking around and taking down soldiers as a canine combatant is actually quite fun and unique. You only do this twice, however, and you never interact with Riley again until a later mission where you have to carry the wounded dog to safety. There's also the occasional vehicle section, like shooting from a helicopter or blowing up radar dishes as a tank. There certainly isn't a lack of variety in the campaign, and since the pace is so frenetic, you always have to stay on your toes. Equally as frenetic is the multiplayer of Call of Duty Ghosts. Now let me say this right away, I am terrible at multiplayer in FPS games. As proof of this, here's a quick montage of me dying in embarrassing ways.
Enemy SATCOM spotted.
Personally, I was just content if my kill-death scores broke even, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to say which of the multiplayer modes I found most enjoyable, as well as the ones that were still the most active. The standard game mode in multiplayer is Team Deathmatch, where players are placed on either the Ghost or Federation team, and whoever gets the most kills first wins. This mode and free-for-all seemed to be the most popular during my time with the game, but I actually found the objective-based multiplayer to be more engaging and rewarding overall. There's the tense and strategic search and destroy, where you have to stop an opposing team from setting up a bomb, and you can't respawn until the next round. And then there's the game mode I found most enjoyable, Domination. Domination is similar to other titles where you have to capture and defend 3 control points around the map. It encourages more than just running around and shooting people, and actively makes you and your team try to work together to obtain victory. I found Domination to be the most fun, and it was honestly the only mode I was consistently better at. The other match type I found to be fun was Gun Game, and more for its wild gunplay. In Gun Game, your gun switches with each opponent you kill, and so you'll only start off with a pistol, but by the end most players are running around with rocket launchers and high-powered sniper rifles. It's quite fun and provides some of the most zany action in the game. As a side note, I do want to mention that some of the more vocal players in the game did take away from my enjoyment somewhat, but the option is there to mute them if you want to. Actually, the funniest moment in my time with the game happened in multiplayer with a very cross teammate.
Come on, what the hell y'all waiting for? Go upstairs! Damn, somebody got to die.
While Call of Duty's multiplayer isn't my favorite, I can easily see why millions of players come back to it year after year. Once you get a feel for the gunplay, it can be quite fun, and the variety of modes allows for all sorts of misadventures. I found the progression system to be mostly rewarding, without giving higher level players too much of an advantage, and I appreciated how you could customize the character's appearance. Even if I found it enjoyable, I still believe that this type of multiplayer isn't my cup of tea. However, it's popular for a reason, and I am happy that there are lots of players who love it. The last main feature of Call of Duty Ghosts is the spin-off mode, Extinction. Much like the Call of Duty Zombies from the past games, Extinction is a what-if scenario that has you fighting off against hordes of alien creatures. You and 3 other teammates have to destroy all the alien hives in the area, while managing resources and work as a group to prevail. And indeed, teamwork is essential in Extinction. You can play by yourself, but unless you have incredible reflexes and a maxed out profile, you'll have a very rough time. To proceed further in Extinction, you have to protect a drill as it bores into one of the many alien hives. Of course, the aliens of the area don't take kindly to this, and you'll have to use every tool at your disposal to protect the drill and survive. Your team shares money that can be used to buy turrets, extra ammunition, armor, and so on. You earn cash by killing aliens, leveling the hives, and fulfilling any optional challenges that arise. It becomes a bit of a balancing act, knowing when to purchase a stronger weapon for the next wave, or to hold off and maybe restock on ammo instead. In addition, you also have the ability to upgrade character skills like extra pistol damage, more ammunition per drop, etc. With all this in mind, there is quite a bit of strategy in how you can approach Extinction, but in the end it comes down to how well your team works together. I had some sessions where we got really far and had each other's backs, and then there were some times when my teammates would run off in separate directions and we only got a few hives destroyed before we all ended up dead. I have a feeling that if you play Extinction with a group of friends, it will be much more enjoyable, because the unpredictable nature of online players made my experience with Extinction a sometimes frustrating, but still fun experience. So now that I've taken a look at all the main parts of this game, let's get to the big question. Why is Call of Duty Ghosts a black sheep? In all honesty, when I was deciding on a Call of Duty game for this video series, it was a toss-up between Ghosts or the more recent Infinite Warfare. Infinite Warfare was an extremely polarizing title in the series, and while that had significant impact, I decided on Ghosts because this game paved the way for the more futuristic elements that Call of Duty embraced over the last few years. Orbital space weapons and spacewalking shootouts are a far cry from the series' beginnings in World War II. With Ghosts, the series started shifting away from the modern warfare theme and towards the realm of science fiction. I don't believe that this is a fault in of itself, but it is an aspect of the series that fans took umbrage with. The single-player campaign was also a source of some contention, and while I don't think it was terrible, I agree that the storyline of Ghosts was lacking compared to other FPS single-player campaigns. Plus, the game ended on a doozy of a cliffhanger, and with no follow-up title on the way, that can be upsetting for those who want to see a continuation of the story. Probably the main gripe people had with Ghosts was, despite being perceived as a next-generation leap for the series, Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer Games played it pretty safe. No major changes were implemented with the exception of the Extinction mode. For many players, Call of Duty Ghosts was just another Call of Duty game. The best thing Ghosts had going for it was the upgrade in visuals, and at times this is a very, very good looking game. The underwater sequence in particular is quite beautiful, and whether it was in the campaign or on the multiplayer battlefields, the game runs at an incredibly solid frame rate. Visuals alone can only do so much, and I think that call to innovate from the fans and critics made Infinity Ward change elements of the series considerably with the next game, Advanced Warfare. But as I already touched on, the futuristic elements have alienated some fans, to say the least. Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare brought the series into the future with cybernetic armor, wall running, jetpacks, and full-on space battles in Infinite Warfare. Fans were calling for a return to form for Call of Duty, and wanted the series to go back to the quote-unquote boots-on-the-ground gameplay that so many loved. Whether it was a reactionary choice or a long-term plan, Activision gave many players what they asked for with the release of Call of Duty World War II this past November. Call of Duty World War II shattered sales records and did much better than Infinite Warfare, and even outsold some of the year's biggest blockbusters. However, it wasn't all good news for Call of Duty, as the game contained a loot box system, which has earned the title some scorn, especially in light of the whole loot box controversy surrounding another recent multiplayer title. Call of Duty being the industry juggernaut that it is, I think it's safe to say the series isn't going anywhere. Activision will keep the series annualized, and fans will most likely keep coming back. And whether you enjoy it or not, you can't deny the impact that this franchise has had on the gaming world. For my closing thoughts, I want to say that even though I don't ordinarily play the Call of Duty games, it was an interesting experience taking a look at Call of Duty Ghosts. It does have some flaws, but underneath it all is an entertaining shooter, with good variety and some fun to be had in the multiplayer and Extinction modes. I really did have fun with this game, particularly the more immersive, stealthy campaign missions, but I don't know if I'll return to the Call of Duty series unless they do something really unique, like an uncommon historical setting, or have a different country as the star other than the USA. I think that would be neat to see, and I'm interested in seeing what direction the series will go next. Will it stay in the World War II era, or will it return to the future? We'll have to wait and see. But until then, legions of players will continue to answer the call of duty, whether it's on historic battlegrounds or the jetpack-powered firefights of the future. Thank you for watching this episode of Black Sheep. What are your thoughts on Call of Duty Ghosts? Any other Black Sheep games you want me to take a look at? Feel free to share in the comments below. Until next time, keep having great adventures, everyone.